Hail the Barbarian Horde! I'm Joe. Here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
Well, can't talk today. Anyways, Kull, last time we left off, had tried to free the slaves. That really didn't work out too well. He's bound up with the law because traditionally monarchs, as we explained before, are limited by the law and by legal precedent. This isn't like democracies where you could just, the bankers and whatnot could just, with the flick of a pen, contradict all law and pass on a new one. These are very different systems to the more traditional monarchical one, which was a lot more tame. That being said, Kull is at a crossroads, but his enemies are not. Now, we get the Coronation, I guess I'll say triumph, because it's like a miniature triumph parade. The people are assembled. Kull is entering the city in full dignity in his armor and with his red cloak. I believe you're the one who noted before that he's the only one who wears red in this movie.
That vivid red color. He is one of the only characters that wears this bright red character. The other
color, you mean? Because he's not this bright red character. That's Akivasha, you fool.
All right.
But they are the only two who wear scarlet. I did notice that they're the only two. She's basically the lady in red in this movie, and he wears that vivid scarlet cloak. Of course, we get Kull calling for a policy of religious toleration of a local priest of Valka, which this is going to do good for him because, he needs Valka's favor. Borna was really adopting a really dumb policy. Let's outlaw the traditional deity of Volusia. Wow, bro. And, so Kull is kind of restoring a bit the traditional faith, and he goes to accept the coronation. And then a couple of YouTube, we can't really say naughty words, donkeys show up and try to do him in. There. How was that? I think I censored myself very well. Kull takes care of them, and one of them is killed by Taligaro, who clearly hoped they would do in Kull, but when they failed, he decided to see if he could gain imperial favor. From what it looks like to me, it seems like Kull is pretty aware who planned this assassination attempt. He's very aware. He's just the look they exchange is like they both know Taligaro planned it. On Taligaro's end, though, he's a little desperate afterwards because he's kind of like, well, that really didn't work well. All the planning, all the money, everything that went into it, nada. Actually, it made Kull look good because he fought off his own assassin successfully, and the peasants got to see that their new ruler isn't some simpering fat noble from the court. He's a buff mercenary who can, fight with the best of them. So they're naturally kind of impressed and pleased, and this entire incident blew up in both Kull and Taligaro's face. It says Taligaro hoped to either do in Kull or humiliate him, and Kull, because Taligaro did slay one of the assassins, Kull cannot question him, but he knows who did it, but he can't actually stop him because the guy did do in one of the assassins for him. So we have here Kull who's kind of in a jam.
A political impasse.
Yeah, because legally, once again, he's bound up by the ancient laws. He cannot defend himself here politically.
Taligaro, in a way, made himself look good because he killed one of the assassins that attacked the new king.
Yeah. And so they're both kind of at a political impasse. They're clearly aligned together publicly, but they're clearly enemies under the surface. So it's basically a Western stare down. Taligaro can't go after Kull because he's popular. Kull can't go after Taligaro because he controls a good chunk of the army and he's popular. They're screwed. So one of them's going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Taligaro's the first one to make the move. Taligaro decides, okay, I need a new group. I need a new friends group. So he calls in some guys from Facebook. What? You didn't expect a Facebook reference? I mean, it's about as old as Volusia at this point.
Let's not get started on MySpace.
No, isn't that about the same age as Facebook?
Fair.
Yeah, they're both from the Arthurian age.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. I mean, they were around in the fall of Atlantis.
That's what I just said. But anyways, and yes, I still use Facebook. But, I was there 3,000 years ago. I'm joking. That's a Lord of the Rings reference. But they meet up with the local fire priest, who's actually an outlaw, who taunts them with, well, didn't you hear the king? Religious toleration is the new norm of the day. And they then enter the citadel, where there's an eternal flame. And there, Mr. Fire Priest dug up a sarcophagus he probably should have left alone, but, he's not the wisest. And we get one of the most creepy mummy revivals in film history. I'm going to actually say this is probably in some ways creepier than The Mummy. The Mummy relied on a bit of a jump scare of the mummy suddenly, roaring at you. This one's a little more subtle. Just an aside, the mummy is found in Anita Sarkeesian's old game room. So, this is a dreadful place that no one has trod into for many, many millennia. So, yeah. There's a bunch of mummies, corpses, and ancient artifacts to be found in this place. I'll leave it to you to guess which one I mean. The game room, which probably hasn't been
Dusted since
that era, or the mummy room. Now, ye old local fire priest, of course, sorry for that little pun and slip of the tongue, disrobes the mummy, which is kind of vulgar, hashtag me too. This is, Sarkeesian's really going to be offended, because first he raids her gaming room, which I know she wasn't using, and grabs a mummy, probably, I don't know, of one of her fans, and then disrobes it. Like, dude, this is all sorts of icky. But on a more serious note, the witch is called Akivasha the Red Witch, which is a change from the original Hour of the Dragon, where she's a vampiress. She's the vampire queen, and beyond dangerous. Having her be a fire witch is an interesting touch. I actually like the villainess in this movie, and I tend to think of her as a different character from that of Howard.
Mm-hmm. One thing I actually liked that we saw was that there is some references to the Snake Men. We do see several snakes around, including a large one.
Yeah, but it's still... Come on, you're not going to make me make a Sarkeesian Snake Man comment here in Correlation. I could make one. But anyways, my issue is that we don't actually see any Snake Men in the movie. There should have been.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
And there's no Brawl. Sorry, Brawl is a character I really wanted to see in this movie. the revival scene is similar to that of Hour of the Dragon, but it's slightly different. I would argue the one from Hour of the Dragon is much more chilling. But this one's a lot more hot stuff. It's a lot more heated.
Yeah.
And yes, we're making a comment about Tia Carrera, who looks great. This is probably the best she's ever looked.
I mean, Akivasha, try Hotkivasha.
Bro. That wasn't very good. But anyways, the mummy restores the guy's claw back to being a hand, I guess, because it was all melted and stuff. Yeah. And when she rises, they do a similar effect with her that Howard did with Zaltotun in Hour of the Dragon, where the character says, her name, and she just repeats it confused, and then says, "You are this person." Like Akivasha. Akivasha? You are Akivasha. And it creates a bit of an echo. And then what happens is that the character's kind of memories slide into place. It's like the saying of the name gives the person their identity. And their, like, kind of fills out the rest of the gaps in their soul or something. It's honestly pretty chilling. And Akivasha, though, shows a lot more gratitude than Zaltotun did, as she also restores this guy's face, which had been burnt, so that we get a bit of a funny comparison we can make, because Zaltotun never restores anyone's face. He's actually kind of a heartless jerk as a boss, strangling goons, nearly killing one guy's squire, and overall just killing his own flunky/assistant. And the difference is Orestes reacts with some amount of horror eventually with the experiments Zaltotun is delving into. While this priest, we'll get to that in a later video. But for now, the conspirators have their trap, because as this guy explains, they're never going to be able to do in Kull by simply sending assassins after him. He's too smart and too ferocious a fighter. You're going to have to wait like 30 years before he's too old to wield an axe. And even then, it'd be probably not until his deathbed that, you might get the better. It is, however, his view that they need to trap the tiger. And Akivasha is the means to do so. Which, very true. So she's both the bait and one could argue kind of the shotgun. So, and it is a bit of a shotgun wedding in some ways. Or crossbow wedding? Well, it's hurried anyways, in any case. So, until next time, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button to stay tuned for the next video, and also check out our audio drama on our other channel, where you get to listen to Crown of Blood, which is actually proving to be pretty popular with quite a few people on YouTube. So, yay.